Welcome to the Irrelevant Podcast. I'm Nathan Jones with my co-host Alex Lewis, back for episode 31 with Mike. Mike, you're gonna have to tell us how to say your last name because we were both having a conversation about how to pronounce it. So
Yeah, man, the H is silent. It's just Behrle.
Behrle. Okay, Mike
Yep.
Behrle from Windham County Strength. Mike, thanks for coming on today. We appreciate having you.
Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate you guys.
So let's just start. You, Mike, just tell the people who in the heck you are, where you're located, and how do you get these awesome, freakishly strong high school athletes that you have currently training with you?
Yeah, so I own a gym in Canterbury, Connecticut called Windham County Strength. It's a private, invite only type of facility. Um, we're in our 6th year of operation. We opened up July 2018. Um, yeah, man, I came from a gym where I was training at that's very similar to this. It's where I kind of learned. Andy Behrle owned a gym called Strength and Health in Smithfield, Rhode Island. And that's where I kind of learned about all of this and how to do it this way. And, when things kind of started to change there, his approach to powerlifting and him getting older and kind of getting out of the sport, I was always planning on opening up my own gym. And, my career in corrections was coming to an end. And I had been running powerlifting meets in Rhode Island with the SPF and just, buying equipment after every meet. Whatever the profits were from meets, I would just buy something, buy a monolift, buy a bench, and just planning for probably about a good 5 or 6 years and learning. And when the opportunity came to open up a place literally in my town where I live, 5 minutes away from my house, I just jumped on it. And I had all this equipment in storage and a lot of stuff ready to go. And I had a commitment from a what do they call it? Premier soccer team from a guy that I were a club soccer team
Yeah,
with a
there you
bunch
go.
of seventh and eighth and ninth grade girls to come train as soon as I opened my doors. And they stayed true to their word. And the day I opened, they came back from a tournament in Italy, and the rest is history. My training partners came with me from Rhode Island. The guys that I trained with in my crew, all but 2 of them. So I had a crew. I had a sick place to train 5 minutes away from my house because I was driving an hour each way to train for about 9 to 10 years, 4 days a week. So now I had this, and here we are. I'm going, 5.5 years later. It's crazy.
So were you competing like prior to all this, or were you just running the events yourself, or were you kind of feet in both?
Me and Andy competed in powerlifting. Um, he he was among the very first of the people that actually went to Westside for the in-person certification, the very first certification. He was among that group. So very my real quick, I'll just put it in how it all started. The typical gym rat as a kid story. Got off the tracks a little bit. Um, you know, Working in corrections as a young person. What had happened is all of a sudden I'm getting held for 16-hour shifts, and it kind of took me out of that gym rat lifestyle. All I wanted to do was just be in the gym, and I made the mistake of taking first shift very early in my career. It's just one of those opportunities you can't pass up. So I'm the low man on first shift at a facility where we merged with another facility, and now there's like 30 vacancies every night, and I'm getting held every other day, sometimes every day. And I just got in a rut and got into some bad habits with some bad people. And, it's a cliche story, but got addicted to like pain medication, as a way to kind of cope with the way my life was at the time. I know it sounds kind of weak, but when I was able to pull myself out of that, I put myself right back into the gym again. And then I said, I have to commit to something bigger than just training like a bodybuilder. And I just went online and I just Googled powerlifting at the time, and I found a meet in Rhode Island. It was a IPA powerlifting meet run by Gene Rishlak at the time before the RPS even started. And I signed up for it, sight unseen, showed up there with just my wife and this group of vagabond powerlifters from Ocean State in Rhode Island, this legendary tetanus-filled facility of concrete and rusty plates. These guys took me in on my very first day, my very first meet, and handled me. And I had no clue what I was doing. And my very first meet, I pulled 600 raw. And that day I weighed like 230 pounds, and they invited me to come train with them. And I'm like, yeah, like they're going to rob me or something, some kind of setup. I'm never coming back here again. But I signed up for the spring meet, and I go to weigh in just 5 months later. And Chuck Scherzer was his name. He was like, buddy, where have you been? We wanted you to come train with us. I was like, this guy remembers me. He's huge, 750-pound bench only guy. And he's like, where were you? We wanted you to start coming and training with us. And so I did that meet, and I met Andy Behrle for the first time. Then I started training with the guys at Ocean State that day. And, that's how I got into my first crew. That's how I got into powerlifting. So from gym rat kid, wanting to be big and swole, to like deadbeat correction officer with a bad drug habit, to powerlifter, which that powerlifting, like a lot of people say, but it literally changed my life. It saved my life. It gave me discipline. It gave me purpose and focus. And it set me on this course for where I am today. If I didn't sign up for that first meet, if I didn't take those guys up on an offer to train with them, none of this would exist.
Sounds like a lot of people have those interactions with like powerlifting crews or something like that. They're just like, I don't know about some of these guys. Like, listen to some of the old West Side stories with Chuck and those guys and some of the stuff they got into. It's like, yeah, you can find yourself in the middle of a rough crew for sure, but seems like to be the best type of people to train with. Was your experience kind of the same thing?
Yeah, because Chuck Scherzer was one of the early West Side bloggers for like bench stuff, back in like the blog online forum days. And he would like type stuff up for Louis about bench only stuff. So it was very conjugate. And I don't even know what that word was at the time. When I started prepping, I didn't even know I was prepping for my first meet. It was 531 Jim Wendler book, like a lot of people. It's the same story for so many people. And then when I started training with these guys, Brian Shaw, not the strong man, but a very good bencher. The guy that benched in the sixes at a very light body weight, Rob Pizzuti, Steve Masterone, a bunch of like big, strong bench only guys, though, for the most part. Me and Rob were the only ones that wanted to do more than bench. So it was like a bench crew on Sundays. And then I would drive out there throughout the course of the week and train with Rob for lower. But yeah, it's crazy, man. When I was at weigh-ins and you're looking at these guys, I mean, you're seeing what they're doing in that meet. And it's like, I never would have thought this was real if I didn't see it with my own eyes. Watching like Vincent DeZenzo bench 800, and then like meeting TT McCray, like this giant 900-pound bencher. And, aside from some ball busting, they're all pretty cool to you. When you show up on a regular basis and you're reliable and you become part of what they're doing and they know you take it serious. And then like what really got me in with those guys is my very first meet in gear. I broke my arm in the warm-up room. My first set in my shirt, snapped my arm, and I showed up the next day to help spot and load. And that was it. They're like, this dude's for real.
Respect there. Alex, what you got?
How many meets have you done raw compared to multiply?
I've only done 2 raw meets. Actually, 2 full power raw meets, my first 2 meets. But these guys were all geared guys. So they got me right. That's probably why I broke my arm. They got me right into a shirt as soon as I can get into one, and my body probably wasn't really ready for it. So yeah, my first 2 full power meets were raw. My first geared meet was a bench only meet. And then down the road a little bit, I did we made up this charity meet, like for fun, where this guy we always roast, we called it the Bill Tracy Jr. Memorial Deadlift Classic. So everybody showed up at this meet thinking this was about a dead dude. And we all like did this deadlift only meet. It was fun. We got a lot of people in. And then Bill Tracy comes out and deadlifts, and they're like, wait a second, this guy's alive. So that was my third raw meet, was a deadlift only meet. So I did 2 full power raw meets and 1 deadlift only meet.
And for the people that don't understand, like how big of a difference is it in the equipment compared to doing it raw?
Man, the learning curve in gear, it's so different. It's like the margin for error is like, it's so thin, it's so small. Being really good in gear takes a lot of time and a lot of practice. I'm not saying raw is easy, because it's not. It's hard to show up and train raw and train hard, day after day, workout after workout, without like killing your body. For me being an older guy, and I started my very first meet, I think I was 31 years old, possibly, and I'll be 46 next week. So I started a little later, and but to get back to your specific question, like the way I would say, the transition into gear is like you're going to make a lot of mistakes early on. It's going to take you a while and a lot of time and practice to get used to like the pressure. If I've learned a lot by the way I started in gear, where I help a lot of my lifters now because they all transition to gear. We have 33 or 34 competitive lifters split up between two crews, and just about 90% of them are in gear. So all the mistakes I kind of made when I first went from raw to gear, I eliminated now and make it so much easier for the people coming up behind me. But, I got into tight briefs right away. I started out kind of with a tight shirt. Like those are mistakes. If I can go back and do it over again, I would have started. I gave myself all kinds of ear problems, labyrinthitis, and like 6 months of not being able to hear out of one of my ears because I wasn't ready for that pressure. And I got into like super tight briefs and like blew my eardrum. I'm not your typical person when it comes to injuries. Like I've had them all, and I haven't done myself any favors, that's for sure. But yeah, man, I'd say that raw to gear learning curve is like patience. Getting in gear, you need to learn the art of patience, because I had so many strong people around me and I was hitting such big gym lifts that I thought I was on their level, but I wasn't, because they're doing it in meets. I'm doing it in the gym. Then I'm going to meets and I'm bombing out, but I still thought I was on their level. And I set myself back quite a ways because of that. So patience and practice from raw to gear. Those are the two most important words I would preach to people.
You hear the word groove. You have to groove gear, and like you have to groove it well and be in the right line and things like that. That is that kind of what you're talking about with the patience element of just trying to learn where those things are like, for you.
First and foremost, like just put on some loose stuff and kind of learn how it feels on your body. Before you start trying to get crazy. Like, now I get these young people that we have here. I have so many lifters under 25 years old. And, we get them in loose briefs first, and box squat and pull. And we get them in a looser bench shirt first and work from there, So it's just, it's a process, and it's like, learning how your body functions in the gear, learning how to push out against it. Because, when you're squatting and your knees are coming in, and with all that pressure going on around you, we're all screaming at you, knees out, but it's like something you have to actually learn to practice on your own doing over and over and over again, until it clicks. And then when they start to kind of master the looser gear, and like, I'm a big fan of the LUPs, the Inzer Leviathan lace ups, because we don't have to put them on super tight, and as the lifter gets better and gets more advanced, we can start to get the gear a little bit tighter, So yeah, it's just, respecting the process of geared lifting, because I am the byproduct of not doing that. And, I had a bunch of injuries and setbacks because of it. Just trying to hang with the big dogs.
Yeah. So do you have you said you have like 33 people that compete currently. Now, are those your kids too? These soccer players that you were referencing earlier, or do you train them differently?
Okay. So the transition has been very like an onslaught of like the athletes who typically train 2 days a week on top of playing soccer every day or basketball every day or 365 days of sports. Most of them will get here 2 to 3 days a week for the athletic stuff, right? Training my athletes. Gotcha. And I have around 40 of them usually at any given time. And I also have a lot of their moms who I work with in like groups. So their moms train here too, more of a personal training, group training type of thing. But it's not much different from what I do with the athletes. But lately, I'm going to say it, man, I'm a lifter first, powerlifting's my thing. I owe the sport so much for what it's done to me that when I see a little bit of talent, I'm going to nudge it, and I've had some girls in here lately and some boys. I have probably 90% girls that come through this place, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But I've had some talented high school kids as far as lifting weights. come through here in the last 2 years. And because I'm a lifter first and because of my love of the sport, I plant the seed, you know, when one of them will hit, they'll hit like a 405-pound safety squat bar box squat. And I'm like, you're doing a meet. And they're like, what? What's that? And I'll explain it to them, and you'll tell right away whether it's something they're interested in or not. You'll see that curiosity, and then I'll let them bring it up to me the next time. I'm not going to force it on them.
Yeah.
But they'll catch the bug. And now, just off of that, I have some high school kids that are going on their 4th and 5th meet already in the last like 2 years. And I've got kids in here breaking APF world records at nationals, and every meet they're breaking a national record. It's crazy, and they've joined the crew of lifters. So I've got a girl in here right now who recently at nationals, she at 165 and 17 years old, she squatted 330, benched 143, and pulled 330.
Wow.
She plays soccer and does dance. So soccer 6 days a week, 2 to 3 games a week, practice on all the other days, dance on the weekends. She hasn't missed a workout since school started, training with us 4 days a week.
Yeah.
And if she continues this streak, she wants to do the Laura Phelps meet in Ohio, the women's pro-am.
Wow.
So I'll pay for her meet entry because that something like that is unheard of for somebody that age.
Is that like you said it's unheard of? Is she pretty rare? I mean, you have a lot of kids. Yeah. You have a lot of kids that come in, but not kids that can do kind of what she's doing.
Because and the other night, her and I have a very, very strong bond. A lot of trust between us. And I will annoy the shit out of her. And what I do is it's like this. It's not like I'm trying to be like an asshole, but I know how tired she is, And on nights when she's tired, like the other night, I'm like, you could just take a day off, like you don't have to train tomorrow. It's just like dynamic effort. And she gets mad, and I love it. I love it. She gets mad at me. You're annoying. She'll go to the other side of the gym, and it's like real want to punch me in the face anger. And I want to cultivate that. I love to see it, any other kid would probably be like, yeah, maybe I will take tomorrow off. Yeah. And it's not wrong. It's not wrong, And she got mad at me the other night because I told her instead of doing 4 sets of reverse hypers, just do 2. And she thought I was trolling her. I know what you're doing. You're trying to get me to like go easy on myself. And I'm like, no, I'm being serious. You have a game. She comes in here before the game, pulls 10 doubles against double minis, right? And does all the accessories. And then she's looking at the clock and I can see she's scrambling for time. And I'm trying to be helpful. I'm like, just cut a couple of sets off your reverse hypers. You're fine. And she's getting mad at me. So some of them just have it.
Yeah.
There's a few of them in here that just have that drive. And I've talked to their parents. Their parents will be like, I don't know where it comes from. We don't force them to do anything. They have this drive. They have this focus and they have this resolve to get things done. And I'll be completely honest with you guys. When I was that age, I did not have that.
Yeah.
At all.
Agreed. Not at 17.
I don't know where they get it. And, it's awesome to see. And it's awesome to be a part of. And it like motivates me.
Yeah. Alex, it sounds like you and this girl would get along pretty well. No days off.
What are those? What are you talking about?
Yeah, Alex doesn't do the whole day off thing either, so he might get along with this.
I train. I do something every day.
Yeah,
I just blew a tendon off my foot, a peroneal longus tendon, ruptured in my foot squatting. I had a 518-day lunge streak going, but I had to stop because it was making my foot so much worse, and I'm a little bummed about it. But so in what I've done to substitute that is I do some kind of grip work and ab work every day instead on my off days, and band work and all that recovery stuff. But
yeah,
I don't take days off.
Where did the lunge thing start? I see that a lot on your story, and I see not just you, I see a bunch of other people obviously that follow you and you're influencing that do the lunges every day or for a specific amount of time.
Well, yeah,
where did that start?
Anthony Oliveira is a really good friend of mine of Trigger Warning Conjugate fame. And, we talk every day and we've just become really good friends over the years since a meet that I hosted that he did back in 2015. We just became really close and, he's back up here in New England now, New Hampshire. So We do some things in conjunction with each other. It's really cool. And he just started doing them. And he got it from, he's really good friends with Corey Gregory, Max Effort Muscle. And what was it, Muscle Farm for years? Is that what it was?
I think so. Something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And, and Corey Gregory, and he has that whole 4 a.m. crew. And I don't think he's doing them anymore, but he's got the lunge guy, Jacob Holland, who like breaks world records, Guinness Book of World Records things with lunges. And these guys are just savages with this stuff. They're doing crazy stuff to like 800 meters a day. We're doing 100 a day or slightly more. I did the 400 meters once and I almost died. I was laying down on the track longer than it took me to in order to recover, longer than it took me to actually lunge around it just to catch my breath. It was brutal.
Yeah.
But Anthony started doing these, and then one of his guys, Josh Larner, started doing them like right after a meet. He started them sooner. We both did the same meet. I believe it was April 30th, 2022 up in New Hampshire. And I started talking to Anthony about it. He's like, yeah, man, it's like one of those things where, what can I, language wise, what can I say here? Do I got to be careful?
No,
Anything you want.
Let it fly.
It's like a dick swing. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that a lot of people are not going to do every single day. And you're going to find a way to get it done no matter what. Throughout the course of a year, you're sick, you're tired, your body's beat up, but you're going to go find a way to get these lunges done no matter what. And it builds this sense of like pride in what you're doing and like the sense of discipline and like toughness to do it no matter what.
Yeah.
I know I did them through injuries. This was a little different because this is the first time I've had a direct lower body injury. So I just couldn't do them anymore. It was once I stopped doing lunges, 2 days later, I was able to train again. So it sucks. But after this meet I have coming up, I'll start them up again because I really started to enjoy it. And then all these kids are doing them now and they have a competition. They have a group chat where one of them will pick the variation. And they're crazy, dude. They're like 20-pound chain over your neck. For the fastest you can do 120 into 4 mats.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? And then like some of them are breaking 3 minutes. It's insane. They'll do them with bands around their hips, deficit lunges. They'll pick a song and see how many you could do to a song. And they just go at it and compete every day. It took off. A bunch of them have quit though.
Wow. I like that sense of like it becomes a part of you and you have to just kind of like we did the sled thing. We did 100 days, Alex. We did a sled for 100 days in a row.
Fucking twice.
Yeah. That was
There's benefits to that, yeah.
At one point it was a mile a day for 100 days.
Yeah.
Pyramiding
a mile
up
of
to
sled drags?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh damn.
Pyramiding up to 90 pounds by the end of it. You would add like 15
pounds
or 20
every 3
pounds
weeks?
every 3 weeks. I don't know. It was fucking terrible.
What did
It was
you
a
get out
half
of
hour
that?
of my life.
Did you see carryover from that?
Well, yeah, I was never sore. That was pretty fucking sweet.
That's the thing that I loved about lunges. It got to the point where no matter what I did or how heavy of a day I have, I just never got sore anymore.
Yeah.
It was great. And my quads just blew up. Now I'm afraid they're going to shrink now. I'm not doing them. But,
Yeah, it just gets to a point where it's like, oh, this is the new normal. Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So
and it's like you don't realize how cool it is, what the thing you're doing, till you see all the people around you quit doing it. Younger people in better shape, people that have really no excuses to not do them.
Yeah.
And they just start like dropping off. Here I am. I'll be 46 next week. And I'm like, you're not even going to come close to how many days I've been doing these for. Now I got to start all over again, but I'll get back there.
Yeah, man. Yeah. That's got to be a little frustrating. You're like, oh, I got up to this 500 and some number and now I have to start back at 1, but you're you're probably a very process oriented person. So it's something that, and you like to be challenged. So it's something that's going to hopefully get you right back up on the horse.
The perspective that I put into stuff like this is like every day I wake up in the morning is day one. Like every single day is a fresh start. It's day one, no matter what. So, to start lunges back up, 2 things. 1, I woke up that day. 2, I have this opportunity to start it again. Like I could start a streak again. That means I'm healthy and I'm alive.
Yeah.
And those are 2 good things,
Where'd you get that kind of perspective? You just kind of formulated that over time, or did you have someone kind of cultivating that to help you? Or
I was such a lazy kid. My mom died when I was young, and I was diagnosed with oppositional defiant disorder not long after. And I had like behavior contracts. which I would go out of my way to like breach every day. And I didn't have supervision at home. It was like, out the alcoholic dad. My brother was big into like selling drugs and doing drugs and stuff like that. So I didn't, I could come or go and nobody really knew. And I was a really good athlete as a kid, a really good baseball player. Everything came natural to me. And I just hated being told what to do. And I just picked up a skateboard one day and that was it for me. And, I became the skater, like loner skateboarder dude hanging out with a bunch of juvenile delinquents. And, I liked the thing I loved about that is nobody was telling me what to do. Like if I was going to like go down 8 stairs, like I'm doing that myself. No one's coaching me. No one's saying, you got to do this, or, you hit the ball to the right side, or, take the first 2 pitches. And like the coaching thing, I don't know. For me, when I was young, I just didn't want to hear it. Because it's like, I was like, if nobody at home is telling me what to do, why am I going to listen to you?
Right.
That was like my attitude, And, where that started to change for me is I met this really nice girl in high school with a really good family that kind of took me in and showed me a whole different way. And I'm married to her today. We've been married going on 21 years. We've been together for 28 since high school. And just having the type of parents who had like structure and discipline in their lives and like were really good to me, and allowed me to be around that all the time and like see the way the other half lives. I'm sure I would have had that life had my mom still, had survived cancer and all that stuff. It's not like a pity party or anything. It's just bad luck. It was like a bad luck situation. And all along the way, when I had the chance to make a really bad decision, the fork in the road, I guess you would call it, I always ended up going down the side that kept me out of the most trouble. So I had a lot of luck as a kid.
Yeah.
And her mom was a teacher for a long time, and she helped me graduate high school. Without her, I would have had to probably get a GED, or I was really bad and I just didn't want to hear it from anyone. And so it's crazy. The person I am now, man, if I could have been this way, like the person I've been since I was 30 years old, and then in corrections, like my first 10 years was like a waste. Um, I was messed up on drugs for like a good 5-year period. I didn't care about anything. I didn't take pride in what I did. I hated being there. I felt trapped. I transferred to another facility, and what me and this captain kind of clicked. John Lapoya, he gave me a shot at this 5 and 2 position where you work Monday through Friday, weekends and holidays off, because normally that doesn't happen in a place like that.
Right.
And with a lot of responsibility. And I took it and I ran with it. And I'm like, okay, this is what happens when you do the right thing for once. And I was rewarded for it. And people were starting to trust me. And my reputation was growing, like within my career. And I was at that point, but before I transferred, I had gotten into powerlifting and signed up for my first meet. And it was all coming together like a perfect storm. Like, man, this discipline in the gym, holding myself accountable to something that's bigger, being accountable to this group of guys that I train with, letting people like build trust in me career-wise and like put these responsibilities, and being that guy that's going to volunteer to go to the front of the line to get things done. All that stuff started paying huge dividends for me. And maybe all these people that were trying to tell me what to do when I was a kid weren't wrong. It started to hit me like, maybe I should have listened to these people a little more, but it's not too late to become that person. I regret not being that way as a younger person, and albeit I didn't have a lot of opportunities to do things that a lot of the kids in here get to do. But I'm like, I can't go back and change that, but I could be that person every day now. And I can be the example for the young people for like, one, what not to be at that age if they'll listen. Not many of them do, because they all got to make their own mistakes too. I respect that. But 2, what happens when you do the right thing and you take your life, control of your life and the path you're on. No matter what it is that your goals are, and no matter what your background is, or how you came up, you could do anything you want to do, and that's not like a corny cliche. I'm a perfect example of that, man. I live every day is a dream. Every day I get to play. Every day is gym class.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
And it all started with just the discipline and like accountability to something bigger than me for once, you know?
Yeah. Alex, what you got? What you itching over there? I can see your brain burning.
You said you had a meet coming up, Mike. When do you get to compete?
So it's my first meet back. My last time competing was April 30th, 2022. I tore my tricep last year and had to have it reattached.
Oof.
And this will be my first meet back. It'll be November 18th in Concord, New Hampshire at Anthony Oliveira's gym, Anchor.
Oh,
Well, I'm
nice.
wearing his night crew shirt right now. But yeah, that's my first meet back, and I'm just so excited for it because my favorite 2 days of the year are the 2 days that I compete, and I haven't had that in a year and a half, and I've been really bummed out about it.
Nice.
I've had a good run. Me and Anthony linked up about 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, and I'm like, I'm putting because owning a gym and doing all the programming is it takes a lot of energy. But if you're also following that programming, it can get out of control. Like for myself, when I'm doing all the things that my people are doing, I feel like I have to be the guy. And then I was beating myself into the ground so bad, trying to be that guy, and all these variations we were doing. I wanted to be the guy,
Yeah.
and I was beating myself into the ground. And I called Anthony one day. I'm like, dude, I got to change something, man. I'm gonna put the reins in your hands with my training and my programming, and take a step back from being my own coach because my track record for coaching myself was terrible. And just over the course of time, like every great coach or great leader had a great coach or a great leader and continues to still have that person, a mentor, somebody in their life that leads them. And it's funny because when Anthony and I first met, he was coming to me for training advice, and we were talking training, and he was asking me about stuff before he went out the West Side and all that. And then here we are, full circle moment. I'm, coming to him, throwing my hands up in the air, and I need you and I need your guidance. And, ever since then, I've had 4 straight PR totals in meets, 42 years and older. And just continue to get better every day, the way I feel, So that was important for me.
People are always shocked when I'm like, yeah, I have a coach. Like Alex is the guy that coaches me. And I'm like, I think it's been the most freeing thing that's ever happened in my experiences training.
It's a weight off my shoulders.
Because I tell people too, I'm like, the last thing I want to do after programming for everyone else is when I go to the gym, have to think about what I need to do for myself. Because either it's the hardest thing to do, or I'm going to go easy on myself, and I'm going to be like, I'm just going to let myself off the hook and be like, oh, well, no one's here. No one really knows. I'm just going to do a few sets of this and then get out. And I'm like, no, that's not really holding myself accountable. So I need someone
it's so important
to just do it for me.
To touch on that point, right? I came up in this sport with Andy Behrle doing the extremely hard thing. It was the old West Side conjugate template where max effort lower was a good morning variation one week, a low box raw squat the next week, a deadlift variation, and then a deload. And our deload was like 30 sets on a back attack against bands and 3 or 4 plates. That was our deload, and a ton of sled dragging. So when, that got me very strong, right? And I know the importance of that basic work, the good mornings and the different deadlift variations, the block pulls and the raw box squats, the low box squats. So what had happened is when I'm programming, for everybody but myself, I'm like, do I really want to do a 10-inch safety squat bar, close stance squat? I know these guys need it. And then, either I'm going to hit something big or I'm going to tear my adductor off the bone. But, something special will happen that day. So yes, when you're doing your thing for yourself, those different thoughts come into play. Like, what's good for me now at my age isn't good for a bunch of 25 and under lifters, right? Like, they can do the work right now. Me, I have to kind of be a little smarter and a little more cognizant of what I can recover from, a little more aware and kind of in tune with my body. And with me and Anthony on our relationship, we talk about the stuff every day. So, it's like I have a sounding board and somebody that's like looking out for me too. And what happened is, in turn, I become a better coach. I become better at writing programming,
Right.
because I can blend it all together, not just this old school mentality that I always had, but now more of a outside the box thought process too.
How has your programming changed over the years? Before you maybe ran into Westside and what you learned about people that had been to Westside, or after Westside, kind of what were you doing before and what's changed as you've kind of progressed as a coach?
Well, a perfect example of a little funny story is I went out and trained at Westside once, and Louis watching me box squat, and it was like 4 plates and blue bands, and I'm snapping them, right? Boom, boom, boom. And now that I watch the video back, it's like the ugliest box squat you've ever seen in your life. And I walk away, and Louis like, "What do you squat, 1,000?" And I'm like, "No, man, I bomb out, you know, I bomb out of meets at the time. I think my best squat was 815." He's like, "How does that make any sense?" And I told him about my recent Circumax, suit bottoms, blues and greens. I hit 705. And he's like, "That's an 1,100-pound squat." And I'm like, "No, it was an 815-pound squat." And so what I learned is we need more practice how we play type stuff. I never got a whole lot out of the Circumax thing where it was strapped down to a box. I got better being in full gear, taking my opener, taking my second attempt, sometimes depending on how I feel, 2 weeks out, taking a third. And I get my lifters in some type of practice how we play mentality every 4th week, pretty much, where we'll take the box away. So we'll work up. It's not everything's about speed on Fridays, right? Just these fast box squats, right? Snapping everything up, whether it's bands or chains. There's no real attention to like being technical. And what I learned, working with Anthony and talking to Anthony and then seeing it in here and how I changed my approach is like our Fridays now are about more or less box squatting, how we free squat, right? There's still some of the old theories, right? We're going to release our hips. We're going to sit back. We're going to try to get our shins perpendicular and all that stuff. But we're not going to roll. We're not going to lose our torso. We're not going to like roll our hips to release them. We're going to make it as close to an actual free squat as we possibly can and be as technically sound on the box as we possibly can and as tight as we possibly can. And just everything is just our squats aren't speed days anymore. They're perfection days. Right. So, we'll stay in the 50, 55, 60%. Usually on the 3rd week on the box, I'll have them work up. They'll work up to a top double, sometimes a top single. Sometimes I'll throw a little wrinkle at them and just will drop the box height for like a couple sets. That's something I learned from Anthony, and go to a lower box. And that's a good way to add extra stimulus without adding weight. It's all different. It's still maintaining form and technique.
Right.
And then on the 4th week, some of them will go like the raw lifters. I'll have them mess with reverse bands sometimes, no box. The geared lifters will go briefs only. We'll go briefs and wrap. We'll just do all kinds of different free squats. And it's just about getting better, getting more technical and more proficient in the way that we actually compete. Same thing with the shirts, same thing pulling in gear. We just do it more frequently. But you also have to be smart in that we're not just going all out for crazy stuff. Sometimes I'll have them do block pulls and I'll say, just take your 3 attempts, what you think your 3 meet attempts will be. So not go chasing some crazy max and swinging for some big number, but like having a purpose to what we do. Sometimes with the shirts, we'll go to a 1 board. And I know like there's guys in here that can hit in the 6s with a 1 board, but they haven't benched 6 in the meet. And I'm like, take your 3 attempts. It's a good way to mitigate the intensity. And keep your mind on what you're actually trying to accomplish in powerlifting,
What about your athletes? What's changed for them, or what do you take from the actual powerlifting side to the more of the athletic side?
It's all rooted in powerlifting, and I'll tell you why. At Andy's, he got me into working with the athletes, and my first exposure to it was this kid, Nick Wells, who trained with the lifters. And he came to us because he got smoked as a freshman wrestler at, I believe it was Smithfield High School. And, he won maybe 1 match due to forfeit and probably lost like 18. And, his dad brought him in there. And here this kid is, and he's lifting with us and he's getting stronger. He's doing all the movements we're doing, the basics, right? Box squatting on Fridays and doing some max effort lower body variation on Mondays and dynamic effort bench on the weekends, or at that time we were doing it on Wednesdays, and then a heavy bench on Sunday mornings. So we just had more people. And I'm watching him, and he's starting to sign up for meets, and it's like from his first meet to his second meet, he put like 130 pounds on his total. And his sophomore year of wrestling, he went like 10-8. And he didn't wrestle before high school. He started as a freshman. And I'm like, well, he's not going to a wrestling club. He's just getting stronger. That's the only thing that's changed. And in his junior year, I believe he made states. And I don't remember what happened to him beyond that. But he continued to do meets with us, and he got PR total every time he did a meet.
Right.
So that's where I was like, wait a second here. Like, we're not doing any like fancy like footwork drills. We're not claiming to make people faster. We're not claiming to like increase your vertical jump. We're just getting kids strong.
Yeah.
And it's paying off in the sports they play in. So I started working with athletes at Andy's, and, a lot of wrestlers and like one girl that was into martial arts. And the ones that would do meets, it's like they would just like the progress was crazy, and a meet is measurable, right? Like we know you got stronger,
right,
and better. So if you're I took that philosophy here, and I don't make any crazy claims. I just tell people, like, if you trust me and I'm going to help your kid, your athlete get stronger, they're going to jump higher. They're going to be more resilient. They're going to be faster, and they're going to take a lot of pride in their results.
Right.
When they put their numbers on this board, they can't wait to hit a PR to change their number.
Yeah,
absolutely. And the fact that they'll come here after playing a game, or 13-year-old girls will come here after playing 80 minutes in a soccer game, or whatever, 60 minutes in a soccer game, and they come straight here and lift. Whether or not you know it when you're that age, you're learning something very valuable doing that in just every aspect of it.
Yeah.
And I didn't change anything coming here. Like I said, I'm not going to tell you that you're going to run a 4.40 or, jump out of you're going to get, and the proof is in the pudding, man. All the kids that are playing in college programs right now that don't come off the field, that don't get hurt. And they're just, because they're stronger, they're more resilient, and they know that they learned how to do the work here, and they can continue to do it there. Even if their programs they're involved with don't push it, they still get to the gym and train.
Sounds like the Mark Deppen approach, Alex. Very similar.
Yeah. I watch him from a distance, man.
Yeah,
I got a lot of respect for that guy.
Yeah. You guys sound like you have very similar philosophies as far as like, he's just like, I'm going to make him piss ass strong, and it's going to carry over to their field with, he's got some of his softball players. One was like Gatorade Player of the Year or something. It's like, yeah, she's just strong. Like she goes to meets and competes, and we just continue to make kids stronger, and it helps them in their sport.
It's sad sometimes though, because the ones that go off to college and, a lot of these really high level athletes, they're like people pleasers in a sense that they really want their coaches to like acknowledge what they do. And that's gotten them really far, right? They want to be the kid that's getting the pat on the back and like, being told they're great. So they go there and they'll start drinking the Kool-Aid. And these programs, the strength and conditioning at some of these schools is so piss poor. And they come back here so much weaker, but then at the same time, they like want to follow the packet from their strength and conditioning coach because they don't want to do them wrong. It's tough, man. And I see a guy like that, Coach Deppen, and it's like, I don't know if he goes through this when they go off to college, but it can be frustrating.
Yeah. Bird talks about it. I know Bird over at Bird Sports Performance, Brandon, he talks about how kids will go off and come back, and their times will be slower, or they won't jump as high, or they won't be as strong. And I know Bidney down at Explosive Mechanics talks about the same thing. Just good strength coaches that have kids that get strong or get more explosiveness or whatever, that there's always a recurring theme of like what they're doing compared to what college is doing doesn't seem to add up very well. So yeah,
and it's like I've talked to like a couple of the strength and conditioning coaches like at University of New Hampshire, and he's like, man, I get 45 minutes with this entire team.
Right.
And I have to get them out of the gym before the hour because I have this other team coming in. And it's like in a perfect world, I'd have double the time I have with them. And, I'd be able to breathe down their necks a little more and push them on free weight movements. But everything they do, they're on such time constraints and space constraints. And There's a lot of good ones out there, and there's a lot of bad ones too. But the good ones will tell you that their hands are tied,
Yeah.
and they can only do so much.
Yeah. I'm kind of anxious. I hope we can get Nate. We were supposed to have Nate Harvey on here, and I hope we can get him back on here because he did the conjugate U stuff, and when he was working with the collegiate program he was working at, and I'll be interested to see kind of what
he was
he
at
talks
University
about.
of Buffalo.
Yeah.
He's at UB. Oh,
Yeah.
he's a great dude, man. I've talked to him on several occasions, and I studied that book before I opened this gym, back and forth.
Yeah.
Many. I still have it in here in a binder. I printed it out.
Yeah.
And the guy, he just really, like, what he was doing there with Paul Childress, who recently passed away. Such an incredible person to meet at meets and talk to at meets. That guy was awesome, man. So smart, so knowledgeable, and he just always give you your time. He was always such a very, like, welcoming dude in the powerlifting scene, and especially when he knew you worked with athletes. He could be, getting ready to squat, and he would talk to you. He's such a good dude. Nate's like that too.
Yeah.
Just good people.
Yeah. Alex, what do you
Mike,
got?
I was listening to you on a podcast, and you were saying, like, you have all this information and you can't even give it away to people. And I know, like, I agree with your opinion on shit 9 times out of 10. Like, why do you think that is, that people don't want to listen, even though you have undeniable proof?
I've had, man, I wish this is one of those questions that I'm not sure we'll ever have an answer. I'll have people, there's proof of what's going on right before your eyes as a parent. So many coaches around here hate me, and I'm showing you actual evidence of these kids getting stronger. You're seeing it. You're seeing a kid, that when they started here couldn't box squat 135. And, they're doing, I got kids on the board, in the 300s or doing 275 safety squat bar doubles or something. It's like, over the course of like 7 or 8 months, I'm like, what more do you need to see? The success they're having on the court or on the field. And a lot of them will still ask you, like, well, what are you doing for their, like, how do we get their footwork better? She still looks slow. So-and-so still looks kind of slow out there sometimes. Well, do you think that has to do with them playing soccer 365 days a year, going to bed at 1 a.m, getting up at 5:30 every day, not eating or drinking like a normal human being? And then they're going to school all day. They're eating like birds because they're afraid, because the dudes will take pictures of them eating in the cafeteria. There's like all kinds of weird shit going on. Right. And then, they don't want to look like they're, stuffing their face in front of their friends. And there's all these social, weird peer pressure things these kids go through. And then they barely drink a quart of water throughout the course of the day. They'll go to their practices, and they'll go to like their coaching sessions for, footwork coaching and stuff. And then you're going to wonder why they look slow at a tournament on a weekend. They haven't even stopped to like catch their breath. And they haven't over the course of 5 days, they've eaten 2 days worth of food, and they'll come to me and ask why they look slow on one game at a tournament. They're like their 4th game of the weekend. And I look kind of slow out there. I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know. Well, let's get a ladder and start doing footwork drills. I don't know what to tell you. The stuff that I've had to deal with some people. And obviously those kids aren't here anymore. And I've been blamed for things like stress fractures, even though their kid plays, 25 soccer games a week and then does track. And like a stress fracture in their tibia was on me. Things like that. Everyone wants to point the finger at me. They won't talk about how, I have kids that have ACL tears that are back on the field in 8 months. No one wants to talk about that. 100% cleared to play. We've had that happen 3 or 4 times. Yeah, I guess if you're a hater, you're going to be a hater no matter what,
Yeah.
And if they're in the scene of like the parents that really don't like me, and, I'm the topic of conversation in like, in staff lounges at high schools. Like recently I was, over a picture of, like a fun picture that was posted of a bunch of girls from different teams, 2 sets of girls from 2 different teams that had just played. And we did like a little fun picture. And then, somebody went to the board ed about it. They just hate me, man. It's crazy. A little 1,700 square foot gym in the middle of nowhere. There's more cows in this town than there are people. and like I made that 2 little fingers shirt, man. The gym all your friends hate. What it really should say is the gym all the soccer moms hate. That's what it should really say.
You and Anthony, you embrace that marketing scheme for sure, and I appreciate that, because you guys are very true to who you are. And so,
yeah. And the whole stay hated thing, people misunderstand it. And it's like, if you ever hear Anthony talk about it, it's like the woman who was a part of his crew at the time that kind of came up with the idea and put it on him. No matter if you're doing, Mother Teresa's work, people are still going to hate you for something. So you got to stay true to yourself no matter what, and be you at all times, and know that you're comfortable in your own skin, and people are going to hate you for it no matter what you're doing. And just, you got to own it,
Yeah. I love that. Like, I got kids all the time that'll come to my gym and tell me what this or that coach says about what I do or how I do it or what I'm doing. And I'm just like, they've never even have a conversation with me. So it's like, I don't care what their opinions are. I don't care what they think about strength training or what they even think about me, because I've never even had a conversation with this human, and they've got me in their mouth, and I'm like, well, then I've got some kind of space in their head rent free if they're concerned about what I'm doing and don't even take the time to talk to me about it. So I learned that a long time ago as well. Like, just do what you want to do what you think is right, and forget about what everybody else is going to say, because someone's going to say something negative at some point or another.
Yeah,
so.
man. Yeah. 2 years ago, at one of the high schools, the first day of basketball practice, one of the coaches pulls all the girls that come here to the side and says, "You guys can't lift weights during the season. It's going to mess up your jump shot." That's what he says.
Yep.
And, it had nothing to do with lifting weights. It had everything with the fact that they come here, and for whatever reason, it had something to do with me. I guess they don't like my internet persona. That's the word on the streets, and it's like, so, I am who I am at all times. What you see on the internet is what you get. So I guess they're saying is they just don't like me, and that's fair. I'll take it.
Who suffers from it though is the kids, because it puts them in such a bad spot.
Because a couple of them were really torn.
Yeah.
A couple of them were really torn. And, of the two, one of them doesn't play sports anymore in college. She quit basketball her senior year. And the other one, what I heard, she might not even play basketball this year. So the other ones are playing college sports. One plays lacrosse, one plays soccer. They're doing really well. They never stopped coming here. We had to block their faces out of training videos. and we started referring to them as Lifter 1 and Lifter 2. Lifter 1 with 115 for a triple. And we do stuff like that.
That's awesome.
And the coach would put them on the spot and try to get the other ones to snitch on who was still coming to the gym.
Gosh,
it's crazy.
That's terrible. Those are the type of people that don't need to be in coaching. You don't need to be.
It's like you said, you never even had a conversation with these people. I offered to go to the high school on a Sunday free of charge with a lacrosse coach who's always been a really supportive dude of the girls coming here. I'll go over all the equipment you have there and how to put your little preseason strength and conditioning program that they get 4 weeks where they can lift weights. Yeah. I'll put it all together for you on paper, really simple. They won't. They're, crickets.
No. I don't know. Ego. I guess ego is getting in the way and pride gets in the way, but yeah, that's.
Somebody said that people don't like me. I forgot who told me this, because they wish they would have thought of this first. You can just open up a gym and put some equipment in a gym. Why didn't I think of that? Put some weights in my basement and have all these kids training. It's that simple. They don't realize the 6 or 7 hours a week I spend just on programming.
Right.
Yeah. But you mean you don't just lift them heavier weight and get stronger? It doesn't work that way. That's not how this works.
No, that's exactly how it works. Just go to Dick's and buy some weights, put them in your basement, and show the world. Show the world how it works.
Oh man, that's awesome. Go ahead, Alex. Looks like you.
You also mentioned, I think, on the podcast, you don't like the ultra wide box squats, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, because they don't. There's a purpose for everything, right? And I can see if someone's built to handle, that ultra wide stance and everything else is in position and all the angles, right? It's one thing. But I'm a perfect example of how bad your squat can be if you're going too wide on the box, because I did it for years. And you can look me up on YouTube and see the ugliest box squats you've ever seen in your life. If you ever want to put a compilation video together of how not to box squat, just look up my name on YouTube and you'll see it. And you're gonna be like, how did this dude not die? How did his knees not snap off? I still don't know when I watch it. I cringe watching my old videos from Andy's from 10 years ago. But yeah, man, it's all about just what's going to happen when you take the box away, right? Is there going to be carryover? Is the box going to actually help you? build your squat, your actual squat, because so many of the kids in here are transitioning into doing meets, and I want them to be successful. And a big part of is coaching the box squat the right way. And what would happen? Just ask yourself this: watch some of these box squats and tell you, just say to yourself, what would happen if I took the box away? Would it be a squat, or would they fall to the ground? You know what I mean? Would their knees just cave in the hole? You can see it by watching it. You can see a technically sound box squat compared to something that's not going to carry over.
Right.
And then when you see, and I'll tell you right now, watch the people that squat ultra wide with funky knee and shin angles, and then go watch their meet recaps. Not the day that I wanted to have. You know what I mean? They go hand in hand.
Yeah.
It wasn't the day I wanted. The way you practice in the gym has to carry over into the way you play. And so if I have a bunch of kids in here that are showing interest in doing meets, sure, we can get a lot out of them doing ultra wide box squats from an athletic standpoint and building their hips up, just like we can put them in, go sumo rack pulls against bands wide. We can do a lot of those things, right? But am I helping them become good lifters when they go off to college? Because the second they unrack a bar and walk it out on a free squat and a power rack, people are gonna be like, what the hell are they doing?
Yeah.
I want to make sure I'm setting them up to have success when they're not here as well. So some movements just don't, carry over to those things.
Do you take the box away quite often for those people? Do you use free squats pretty frequently then?
As soon as they start saying, I want to do a meet, like within a week or two, I want to assess their free squat.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to.
And start coaching, and then start coaching their squat based off what I see on the box.
Gotcha.
And with kids, what you'll see on box squats is they like to shift their feet when they like to pick their feet up, move their, and listen, they're still going to get a lot out of these movements, doing them like that and moving the bar fast. It's not like it's bad, as long as positionally they're sound and they're doing everything right. If they shift their foot a little or move their foot a little, it's not like it's not for nothing. It's not like you're wasting their time. They're still going to get benefits from the movement. But when they start talking, they start looking at the boards, and they start looking at numbers, and they can see where their name might go into a spot. And I see that like fire in their eye and their interest, and they start training with the lifters. And right away, when they come back for a second workout with us, there's something wrong with that kid, and we want them to do a meet. It's a fact. It's quite an environment to train in. It's awesome. I'm so happy of the direction we went in and how everyone is taken to it. But yeah, man, it just comes down to making sure that what we're doing in here, with the box squats, what I learned for myself is just box squatting correctly and how much more effective of a free squatter you could become doing it.
What do your typical training splits look like with your with people that you powerlift with or train, or just in general? What does your typical split look like for people now?
For the lifters, we'll train 4 days a week, and Monday has become more of like a deadlift day, a deadlift variation day. And it's that'll be like it's a max effort lower body day, but it's 90% of the time it's a deadlift, maybe 95% of the time. Sometimes it'll be a good morning or a low box squat. Wednesdays are our max effort, our heavy bench day. Fridays are our squat day, and it's 3 out of 4 weeks typically a box squat. We take the box away I take the box away from them pretty often.
Right.
And the weekend, the morning crew people usually train on Saturdays, and the night crew people will train Sunday mornings, and that's our upper body accessory day, our bench accessory day, or your dynamic effort day.
Gotcha.
Speed work. Some people, depending on where they're at in this journey, will get more repetition work. Like our newer lifters will do more like 5x5, 6x6 type of work, straight weight. I'll have them do that. And, all my raw lifters will pause their first rep on whatever it is they do on the weekends, whether it's dynamic effort or rep work. So yeah, I've learned, I have 151 totals in here since October of 2018.
Wow.
Of those 151 totals, only 5 totals weren't PR totals. And there's only been 1 bomb out, 2 bomb outs, and it was me. Yeah. I think Rupo bombed out once, but he went on to do a push pull. He bombed on a squat once. So 3 bomb outs when he was training here. Yeah. So a lot of that, I'm not taking the credit for it. I learned a lot from Anthony in this regard. He learned a lot from some really smart people. His time at Westside, his time with Dave Hoff, his time at Laura Phelps. Like he's pulling from the greats, right? And his perspective, his blend of things and how he puts things together. I get the trickle down effect in our conversations. I see what's turned him into the lifter he is today. And a lot of it is like directly training the way we compete in a sense, right? And I came up in a whole different way. Follow the conjugate. Follow the Westside template, right? Like this box squat against band is going to mean you squat 1,000 pounds, right? And you got to trust it. Now it's like, I know that I can go to a meet and squat 900 pounds no matter what, because I do it in here all the time. I don't even think about it. When I see my opener at 903, it's like, I do that in the gym every 4th week sometimes. And I do that briefs only with reps. You know what I mean? So it's never a question because I can go to my brain and think of the countless times I've had this weight on my back and came up with it. Prior to that and how we trained in the past, it was all theory. Like I'm calculating band tension and conjugate pounds in my head, you know, and it worked for a lot of people, but it didn't necessarily always work for me.
Why don't you think the Circuit Max was as effective for you and more of like doing the straight weight? Well, what does your contest prep look like?
Here, because I can get away with shitty technique off a box and still come up with the weight.
Yeah.
Because I have a ridiculously strong lower back for whatever reason. That's always been a strength of mine. Huge good mornings over the years and all kinds of like a big base when I was a younger kid training in the gym at the YMCA in Norwich was these guys were all doing good mornings and pull-ups.
Yeah.
And deadlifts. And I was doing all this stuff with these guys. So I built that foundation. So I can get away with bad technique off a box. To this day, I can still get away with it. And I can cheat certain bars and look decent doing it because my lower back's strong. Now it's like I know in order to continue to be a better lifter, like I have to take these lifts in the gym. Not all out, you know, not like taking my 3rd attempt, so to speak, in here. Like, I don't need that. I have the confidence now in myself as a lifter. I don't need to do that. I know what I'm capable of, but I need to take lifts the same way that I'm going to do on meet day, you know, and just for technical purposes and proficiency purposes. Gotcha. It helps me so much. And it's helped all these lifters. Gotcha. You know,
how early do you kind of phase in max effort for some of your younger clients, or do you just kind of trickle it in sporadically, or is it a lot of 5x5 and 6x6?
I love max effort for them, and what a lot of it's like reading their body language, and learning who they are and how learning my lifters and my kids, right, and getting to know them. It's very important for me to get to know them like on a personal level, and develop relationships so I can get a read of them and where they're at, you know, in a particular because their seasons are year round. And they're always going. And I got to know who could come in here at 7:00 at night on a Tuesday and squat heavy for me. And I could tell walking through the door who can't. You know? It's some I could push to the brink if they're tired or if they're showing me that there's not a whole lot in the tank that night. But I can get them to within. If I can get a tired kid to within a jump away of a PR attempt, that was a good night for me. You know?
Yeah.
There's value in that, you know?
Yeah.
And then they feel like they're a part of the group that's lifting heavy. And then I'll tell them, I'm like, listen, you played 3 games this week. You did a tournament 2 weeks ago in another state. You travel and you're in the car all the time. You just got to within 1 jump away of a PR at your most tired point of the year. That's great. Yeah. And they believe me. And I'm not lying to them. And then we have that trust in each other. So, you know, I'll have the kids that are 11 years old, you know, within a month, you know, 4 weeks of like training fundamentals, you know, start to squat heavier, you know, work up to like a heavier single. I won't let them get buried on the box.
Right.
But, you know, I'll have them feel some weight on their back for the first time. And most of them just handle it.
Yeah.
And they're hyped, you know, they're like, what was on the bar? And I'm like, oh, it was 140 pounds or whatever. They're like, what?
Oh yeah. They lose it.
They go crazy.
Yeah.
And then their parents post it and they're all hyped about it. And the parents are like, that's all they talked about all week. They just get so wrapped up in it.
Yeah, get them hooked. Get them that little taste, and then they're hooked.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. Alex, you got anything, brother?
Do you like try to peak the kids for the meets, or are you just trying to get them progressively stronger over time? So you do.
Yeah, we run depending on how the training cycles are falling. Like I like to have an 8-week peaking phase, 8 to 10 weeks. Where basically what you're doing when you're peaking people is you're kind of running them into the ground a little bit and depleting them, and for delayed transformation. If we're going to talk about the terms, but we in that 2-week recovery, 2 weeks prior to the meet, so they can just really start to rest and be ready for meet day. But yeah, within what I like to do is within our peaking phase, 8 to 10 weeks is take at least 2 free squats. The first time I like to have them work up to their opener. The second time I'll have them work up. This time around with some of my young guys who are starting to hit big numbers, I kind of played mind games with them. I set up a real flimsy reverse micro band, and they all squatted over 800 with it after hitting their seconds. It was huge. Well, three of them squatted over 800. They're all low to mid 7 squatters. And I think a bunch of them have a shot at 800 this meet they're doing coming up on October 28th. So yeah, man, I'll do little things to like build their confidence and, get their minds right and get them ready. I like to beat them down so they can recover in those last 2 weeks. So I do like a 10-week prep, meet prep. And I'll have them my geared lifters will be full gear, squats twice, full gear, shirted benches twice. I'll have all of them touch their openers prior to a meet. Then they'll touch after the work. So they'll work up to like something heavy off of one board. And then after all that, I'll have them touch their opener. So like if you can touch your opener on that day, after doing all those sets in a shirt, your opener is going to fly in a meet.
Yeah.
Just building confidence.
Yeah.
And they'll pull full gear twice too in that prep.
So in the 2-week period where you're kind of deloading them a little bit, what is that? Are you not completely off, but are you doing speed work?
They hate it.
Yeah.
Because we go from 100 miles an hour to like 10 miles an hour. And it's just a lot of accessories.
Yeah.
Today, the ones that are doing the October 28th meet, the raw lifters, I had them today, take their opener for 3 singles. Then after that, they hit their opener for 3 touch and go triples. And that'll be the end of the work for them. Now it'll all be just like dumbbell work, band work, bodybuilding accessory type stuff on both upper and lower days for the remainder of this week. And then next week, the week prior to their meet, they're basically going to do nothing.
Yeah.
They'll come in here. They can do some like ab pull downs, like standing abs. They can do some band hamstring curls. They can do mobility work. They can do some 45-degree back raises. Do some like really easy like hip circle like walks. But that's about it. They don't like it, but it's important, and the results speak for themselves on meet day. Because they're ready to go,
Yeah, absolutely. So how many people do you have competing, like are about to compete now, you said?
October 28th, I believe we have 11 or 12 lifters. And then November 18th, we'll have 5 or 6. And then I have a bunch of them doing February 10th. And then I have one of my women qualified for the pro day for Laura Phelps's meet for the women's pro-am. So she'll be on the pro day. She has a 1439 total right now.
Wow.
Yeah. Multiply. And then I have 2 high school girls or 3 that want to compete at that meet on the amateur day, which is the best thing they could possibly do because they want to be in the sport for a long time, to be around the strongest women in the world for 2 days.
Yeah.
It's like, talk about manifesting energy and just the positive vibe of that meet. Everybody sees the highlights from that meet every year, and what Laura does for women's powerlifting is incredible. And I'm not putting myself out there, but man, am I helping growing the women's side of powerlifting in this gym? I never thought it would be something that I would do, but I have this next meet in October. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 women competing. And the next meet, there'll be another 2, but I have 9, 10 women right now competing. And it's like every meet we do, there's a new high school girl doing her first meet, so I think we'll go to the pro-am with like 4 or 5 lifters, which is really cool.
Do they have anything in the school setting that does like competitive powerlifting in your area, or is it more just they kind of have to go out on their own?
There's a Killingly High School dominant. They're the most dominant football program around. And they have this thing called the Barn. and it's a gym at one of the kids' houses.
Yeah.
I guess what had happened is the father tried to open up a gym in Rhode Island and it didn't work. He took all the equipment to like a barn, and these kids lift weights. and everyone's like, why do they win state championships? Why are they in state championships? Nobody else around here does what they do.
Yeah.
You know, I've had high school football players in here from other teams, and they're like, my girls are way stronger than them.
Wow.
You know, I mean, it's not even close, and they don't last here because the girls are stronger than them. And I'll say sometimes these dudes will hit me up, and I'll ask them what their numbers are, and I'm like, man, I have girls in here box squatting 410. I have girls pulling 325. You know, I have girls squatting. I have a girl that's going to squat 400 in me in April. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm going to need more than that, buddy. You know what I mean? Like the girls in here continue to raise the standards for what's acceptable now for, you know, the ego driven high school boys when they get a hold of me or they'll come in here and they're cocky, and I'll just start talking about how you see that girl over there. She's way stronger than you. You know, you won't see them for they'll be gone. That just weeds them out. But yeah. So there's one football team around here. And I think Norwich Free Academy, they have like an off-season strength program, but, you know, 45 minutes with dumbbells. But they lift free weights, this place called The Barn. And a lot of people think that I have a problem with them. But what people don't understand is I really respect what they do. No one's ever had a chance to hear me out on it. Everyone assumes that I don't like them. Like we're not competition. And it's, I think what the coach that has done, taking those kids in and gotten them as strong as they are is an awesome thing. And that's the first time I've ever spoken publicly about my feelings for The Barn. And all you have to do is look at their record and their accolades, and you know why. It's because they're getting strong.
We can bury the hatchet for you. We'll clip it, and then we'll put it on Instagram. We'll tag them in it, and then you can start the process right there. But I just think it's cool. It's the value of just getting kids strong. Yeah.
Look no further than what we do here. You know,
is football not really like is it not a big thing in that area? Is it not
around here? It's Killingly, and that's it.
Okay.
You know, the other side of the state, juggernauts.
Yeah.
Killingly's the only team in this area that can go when states come around and compete with those teams.
Gotcha. Okay.
Nobody else can.
Huh.
Sometimes there are a couple schools down by the shoreline that'll get good for a year or two, and then it goes away. Then this place called Norwich Free Academy, where I graduated from, there's like 2,000 kids, and the best athletes walking around that campus can't qualify academically.
Gosh.
You know,
yeah.
If they put a little more time into like outreach to try to like, you know, get these kids on track, nobody would touch them. For a while, they had a coach there, Jamal Davis, I believe his name was, that did that. He went out and made sure that those kids that were on the fringe, like academically and just socially and coming up, you know, not living in the best, you know, home life, you know, were doing the right thing so they could play sports. And they went on a run. You know, Killingly football has a really tight sense of community and closeness, and they support their team. They pack that stadium. When they play home games, it's crazy. Fireworks. They have parades for them.
Wow.
To have successful sports teams in any town, it's a community effort.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And people don't realize that. There's a team that wins championships all the time called Ansonia on the other side of the state. And the rumor has it, the cops that work third shift will go around picking the kids up, bringing them to school so they can eat breakfast and train.
Wow.
You know, it takes a community to build success with young people.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people around, yeah, man. And if a lot of people would take the time to talk to me and get to know who I really am and not judge me by an internet persona, they'd realize I'm on their team and I'm on their side when it comes to that.
If any of you think that Mike is not who he says he is, let's listen to the podcast episode. He actually gives a shit. He actually gives a shit.
Yeah, man. We all have I put the kids first.
Yeah.
And I know the parents that hate me, they do too. So we have common ground in that, you know?
Yeah. If you're there for their kids, there's a lot of, they'll do a lot for you. They'll go out of their way for you for sure.
Yeah, man. Building trust with kids. It's crazy. It's currency. It goes a long way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Alex, any other questions floating around in that big dome of yours?
I don't think so. Not at the moment.
What's next for Windham County, Mike? Like what's your next steps? What's kind of on the path, or what do you got coming down the line?
Well, for me personally, it's like my goal every day is to stay in one piece. and I'm getting older, and I want to defy. There's some guys out there that I look up to, like Joe Jordan, Matt Manuth, older guy, a little younger than me. There's guys out there that just keep fighting every day. So personally, man, I'm going out on my terms, which is never. Hopefully my ideal situation is they find me in here on the floor one day, and I was training, and that's how I went out. Hopefully not soon. And hopefully it's not too traumatic for everybody, but that's how I want to go out, man. I'm a lifer when it comes to powerlifting. I'm never going to quit this stuff. I'm always going to push myself to compete and train hard until the wheels fall off. I know it's a cliche, but
yeah,
I'm when I say that, I mean it.
Yeah.
And as far as like the gym goes, I hope that my fire and passion for this, I can only go so far, right? At my age, I hope they jump on my back, man, and I hope they take it even further. That's my goal. Like when I'm not here anymore, I hope the people in here take it even further than I could have taken it.
Yeah.
I hope I'm taking it further than Andy took it, the guy who brought me along. I hope I'm doing him justice and putting respect on his name for everything he did to me. And I hope that everything I do, and like my wife will tell you, man, I live here, sadly for her, but by looking at my face, it's not a bad thing, but sadly for her, my life is this gym.
Yeah.
And my life are the people in this gym. And it's hard. It's hard sometimes because I know that I can't expect anybody to give me what I give them in terms of that. It's not fair. And it's very exhausting, and it's very draining and tiring. And sometimes you get a little bitter and a little salty because you feel like, man, I give everyone so much, but what do I get in return?
Yeah.
But then on meet day, you know what you get in return because they're giving you everything they got, and everything you gave up for all of this, that day validates it all, and chalk on the back hugs and, in the pictures and, you see the pictures on Instagram from meets, man, the best day of my life every time we do it. If that's my last day alive, it was all worth it.
Even the soccer senior nights, Soccer senior night
tomorrow, I was asked for the very first time, when so many soccer players have come through here, to actually walk somebody out with their family. Wow. And it's been the most emotionally moving thing that I've experienced. Yeah. I know it sounds corny because it's soccer, but for and she's one of my best lifters too, and the girl I was talking about, I'll say her name, Sherry Simino. She's the one that hasn't missed a workout, and it's just, and she asked me to go to like walk her out with her mom and her dad on the field, and it's like, I never had kids, man, and it's like she's the one kid that makes me regret not having kids, because like that would have been cool to have a kid like that has the same interests. Imagine going to meets with your kid.
Yeah,
like,
that's
to
cool.
me. I think about that. Like that's the only time I ever regret it.
That's a cool moment.
Man, it's going to be sick. But a lot of the people that hate me are on the same field that night, tomorrow night. So I'm going to ruin all their pictures.
No, yeah, it's a double. Yeah, it's a double win for you.
It's like tomorrow's my night, But then I have to drive. 20 minutes away to another senior night right afterwards. I'm lucky that one of the ceremonies is before one game and then after the other, so I get
perfect.
Girls that have been with me since 7th grade for the second senior night. So they've been here. Cool. They're seniors now. It's crazy to see, man. It's just a cool experience, man. This is what, like I said, powerlifting did this for me, and I owe it so much. Like I can never give the sport back what it's given me. But I'll spend the rest of my life trying.
That's awesome. That's what it's about. The relationships, man.
It's all about relationships.
Yeah,
it absolutely is.
Yep. That's why we do. Alex, that's why we do what we do, right, Alex?
Something like
it's
that.
It's not for the money. It's definitely not. It's never going to be about the money, man.
Alex wants both. He's like, yeah, I want both.
Well, I'll find a way to make the money, but it's not going to be through coaching.
There's nothing wrong with it,
No, we got to make a living.
Anthony jokes sometimes and says he wants a G-Wagon and a face tattoo. That's how he'll know he made it.
There you go.
You know what I mean? I don't think I'm ever going to get there. I'll get the face tattoo though.
You guys like going back to the free thing. If I can't give it away, I might as well ask for a lot of money too, because I'm getting the same fucking result.
You might get more if you ask for a lot of money. Sometimes people attach your cost with how good you are.
Oh, quite frequently, unfortunately. That's how it works.
Yeah.
The world we live in.
Money driven world. Yep. That's for sure.
It's crazy. Yep.
Well, Mike, I don't know if I have anything else or any other questions. Alex, do you have anything else?
I do not at this time. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, man. It's been great. Love coming on these shows. I love talking about the sport, talking about what we all do and love.
Yeah, you're the man. We appreciate your time. I appreciate your passion. I commend you on it, and I hope that continues for you. And I can't wait to see what your powerlifters do coming up here in October, November.
Yeah, man. Good luck with what you guys are doing. This is great, and tuning into these things, and hopefully we could put this in lights and get more people to watch because you guys do a great job.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. We appreciate that.
I'll check in on your competition. I compete the same day, so
the October one or the November one?
You're November. Well, your actual competition.
I'm November 18th.
Yeah, me too.
All right,
I compete
man.
the same day, so
good luck.
Winner takes all. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
What are you talking about? This guy's got a fucking 2,000 total over here. I'm not even anywhere near that.
Yeah, well, can I throw the age coefficient in there?
Yeah, there you go.
I don't even think
I don't think it'll matter, Mike.
I'm looking at your dot scores and I'm fucking you're almost double mine. So
yeah, but it's all gear doing it, man. I'm cheating.
Even your raw total that you got of fucking the very first time you ever did it is still way better than what I've done. So
it was lucky that day.
There you go. Yeah, or I'm just a weak bitch. We'll just call it that. It's fine. I'll take it.
But, hey, we all gotta have something to chase, so that's awesome.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it never ends. I could total 3,000, and I'm still gonna go after something bigger. I'm never gonna be happy.
Right.
It's awesome. Mike, thank you again for coming on. We appreciate it. We hope you have
welcome, guys.
Great rest of your day, man. Keep killing it out there.
Appreciate you.
Yep. Thanks, Mike. Have a good one.
Got it. You too, guys.